Welcome back to Unsolicited Feedback, the podcast where we cut through the noise, skip the corporate jargon, and get real about what actually drives results. Because let's be honest, hope is not a business strategy. I'm your host, Chuck Knabusch, the operations guy. And after 40 plus years across the military, corporate America, and now entrepreneurship, I've seen what works, what breaks, and why leadership, planning, and execution are the great separators between average and exceptional results. As you're catching the replay, send your thoughts or challenges directly to me at chuck@1310.com. Hey, your time matters, so let's jump straight into today's topic. Why fast-growing businesses eventually break down. Or what basketball can teach leaders about operational agility, structure, and sustainable execution. Yeah, I was sitting in the gym watching one of my grandsons play basketball a couple of Saturdays ago, and as strange as it sounds, I started thinking about business. Not corporate org charts, not strategy decks, not KPIs. Basketball. Because basketball is one of the closest real-world representations of what entrepreneurial businesses actually feel like. They're fast, fluid, reactive, constantly transitioning. 1 second you're attacking, the next you're defending. Then you're adjusting again before everyone even gets set. There's motion everywhere. And the best teams, they somehow make chaos look coordinated. That's exactly what great organizations do too. But here's the problem. A lot of businesses mistake movement for alignment. They confuse hustle with execution, activity with coordination, responsiveness with operational maturity. And eventually, that catches up with them because there's a massive difference between playing fast and playing out of control. And that's what we're talking about today. The biggest problem in fast-moving organizations is this. They scale speed faster than they scale structure. At first, speed feels like an advantage. Everyone's engaged. Everyone's solving problems. People jump in whenever they're needed. Communication is constant. The team feels connected. Honestly, it kind of feels exciting. And that's why entrepreneurial environments are addictive for certain people. But eventually, that same flexibility that helped the company grow starts creating friction. Because now decisions overlap, accountability blurs, priorities conflict, and nobody knows who owns what under pressure. And here's the dangerous part. The business can still appear successful while the system underneath is deteriorating. Revenue may still grow, customers may still buy, the team may still hit numbers, but internally, people are exhausted. The organization starts relying on heroics instead of operational design. And most leaders don't recognize it until the system starts missing under pressure. So what do most leaders try? Well, when organizations start feeling chaotic, most leaders respond in very predictable ways. They add meetings, increase reporting, push urgency, hire more people, or tell everyone to communicate better. None of those solve the real issue because the problem usually isn't communication. It's coordination. Big difference. Communication is talking. Coordination is shared understanding under pressure. Elite basketball teams understand this instinctively. Watch high-level basketball for 5 minutes. Players rotate without speaking. Coverage switches instantly. Spacing adjusts automatically. Help defense appear before the problem fully develops. Why? Because the system has been practiced enough that people can move fluidly without losing alignment. That's what operational maturity actually looks like. Not rigidity, fluid discipline. So why does this fail in business? Well, most businesses accidentally create systems that depend on memory, personalities, and effort, not structure. And that works until growth adds complexity. And suddenly, everyone's in everyone else's lane. Decisions slow down, priorities compete, and leaders become bottlenecks. You see this constantly in founder-led businesses. The founder becomes the point guard, the coach, referee, and emergency response team simultaneously. And for a while, it works because they're so talented. But talent doesn't scale forever. Systems do. There's an old operational reality most leaders eventually learn the hard way. The faster the environment, the more structure matters, not less. Yeah, I know, it sounds a bit counterintuitive to entrepreneurial leaders because structure feels slow until you realize lack of structure is what creates most delays. Think about basketball again. The fastest teams in the world are also some of the most structured. Spacing matters, timing matters, rotations matter, communications matter, and roles matter. The freedom works because the discipline exists underneath it. Without that, you don't get fluid basketball. You get 5 people sprinting in random directions. And that's not agility. That's cardio. So the real shift that changes everything. The organizations that scale successfully eventually stop asking, how do we move faster? And start asking, how do we create clarity at speed? That's a completely different question because now you're designing for decision velocity, operational alignment, and sustainable execution. This is where leadership changes. Early stage leadership often rewards responsiveness, hustle, and intervention. Scaling leadership requires operational cadence, standards, visibility, and distributed decision making. You stop building around heroic people and start building systems that allow ordinary people to execute consistently under pressure. That's the difference between a talented organization and a scalable organization. And not that they can't be both. So what do great organizations actually do? The best organizations I've worked with all eventually build 5 things. 1, clear decision ownership. Not consensus, not everyone weighs in, actual ownership. Because speed dies when accountability blurs. Great teams know who decides, who supports, who executes, who gets informed, and they know it before the pressure hits. 2, operational cadence. Hey, and this is huge. Most organizations confuse constant interaction with alignment. They're not the same thing. Cadence creates predictable communication, structured prioritization, and organizational rhythm. Without cadence, every conversation feels urgent. With cadence, urgency becomes manageable. That's one reason elite athletic teams stabilize under pressure. The rhythm already exists before the pressure arrives. 3rd thing, standards. Not bureaucracy, standards. There's a difference. Standards reduce decision fatigue. They create consistency, predictability, transferability, and they allow teams to move quickly without reinventing the game every day. The absence of standards doesn't create freedom. It creates friction. The 4th thing that great organizations create is visibility. People cannot align around what they can't see. This is where many dashboards fail. They measure activity instead of operational reality. The goal isn't more data. The goal is shared visibility into priorities, constraints, flow, and emerging risk. Elite organizations see problems early. That's one reason they appear calm under pressure. The fifth thing, leadership restraint. Yeah, I know. This one surprises some people. Strong leaders don't jump into every problem. They resist becoming the system. And you know, that's hard, especially for highly capable leaders, because intervention feels productive. But if the organization only works when certain people step in, you don't have operational maturity. You have dependency. And dependency doesn't scale. So here's a counterintuitive truth. The most agile organizations are often the most disciplined. That's the part many people miss. Discipline creates speed, not restriction. Look at elite basketball again. The ball moves quickly because spacing is disciplined, timing is disciplined, rotations are disciplined. Without those things, the pace collapses into chaos. Business works exactly the same way. The goal is not to control every movement. The goal is to create enough structure that people can move fluidly without losing alignment. That's operational design. So how do you apply this? Start small. Pick one area of your business where priorities constantly collide, decisions slow down, or firefighting dominates execution. Then ask, what's the standard? Who owns decisions? And how is alignment created? What cadence exists? What visibility is missing? Don't overcomplicate it. Most operational breakthroughs don't come from giant transformations. They come from removing friction consistently over time. That's how great teams improve too. Not by screaming louder, but by coordinating better. Basketball looks chaotic to casual observers, but it isn't. At high levels, it's actually incredibly structured. The speed works because the discipline exists underneath it. Business is no different. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Unsolicited Feedback. Thanks for joining me. But don't just nod along. Apply something from today's conversation. Because results don't show up just from listening. They show up because you did something. Even one small action this week will move the needle farther than a month of good intentions. Hey, if you want to go deeper, scan the QR code or schedule a 30-minute strategy chat. I'd love to hear how you're using planning, leadership, and execution to make sure hope never becomes your business strategy. Drop a comment and like the episode. I'm Chuck Knabusch. Until next time, stay focused, stay disciplined, and don't you dare rely on hope.